I'm a manager at a movie theatre and often work until around 2 a.m. 3 stories come to mind. The first one was when I was walking down a hallway to clean a theatre while talking to my projectionist. I walked into the theatre, got to the top and started cleaning the top row. I saw my projectionist cleaning at the bottom of the theatre, and as I turned and said, "Thanks for helping me clean," I realized there was no one there. I got out of the theatre and he was just coming down from the booth. I asked him if he was in the theatre cleaning with me and he said, "No, I went up to the booth when you walked into the theatre." The second one was another time I was cleaning theatres. I was in one theatre when I heard something move behind the screen. There's a 2-foot gap between the screen and the wall, and people put stuff back there, but I've never heard noises before. Creeped out, I left the theatre. The next theatre over was my next clean, and when I was walking in, I heard children laughing and running around. As I turned the corner to look up, there was no one there. The last one was at closing when I had to go turn off IMAX. I was standing at the unit running the first part of the closing schedule when I heard the back door of the booth close. This is a stairwell that I only had the key to, and it's so out of the way no one uses it. I stared at the hallway, waiting for someone to turn around the corner, but no one did. I finished starting the shutdown for IMAX and heard the door close again. I ran over to the stairway, and the lights weren't even on, and there's no way anyone could have made it down the stairs to turn off the light in that time, even if they did have the key. I'm sure I'm missing a creepier story, but right now, I can't think of one. So I work in a prison in the UK. I always like to work nights, because you do 7 days on, 7 days off. Whilst on nights, I get locked onto a wing with no keys. We have a sealed pouch with a cell key inside for emergencies. For example, if someone is hanging and I need to get in to cut them down. I'm in charge of looking after 200 plus prisoners. After a busy few hours on the landings, answering cell bells and doing my checks on people who are essentially on suicide watch, the wing starts to settle down, and through the night I do multiple patrols. During these patrols I've witnessed so many bizarre things. Here are just a very small portion of things that have happened to me whilst on nights. One night I was on the 3's landing doing my checks. I heard a loud banging from the 1's landing outside the Severy. When I went to investigate, there was a broom on the floor. When I reviewed the CCTV footage, you can clearly see the broom slowly being lifted away from the wall it was resting on, and then quickly getting thrown to the ground. We have the footage burned off, and most of the people at work have seen it. We usually show it to new staff before they do their first night shift to freak them out. One night we had someone overdose. He was located in cell 2-37. I was working the week after all this had happened, and the cell was locked off for police investigation and was completely empty. At about 3:30 a.m. in the morning, the cell bell for 2-37 was pressed. At first, I didn't even know that this cell belonged to the guy that had died the previous week, but as soon as I looked into the empty cell, I realized and just froze. It takes a lot to freak me out, but I didn't walk back on that part of the landing until roll count. These are some more minor but still equally as creepy things that have happened just last week that prompted me to share this. While walking the 3's landing, one of the showers on the 2's turned on by itself. The only way to turn it on is to press a button on the wall inside the shower. I went to investigate and the showers were locked and lights inside turned off. This was about 2:30 a.m. Approximately 30 minutes later, I was walking down the 2's landing and an office door slammed shut. I checked the landings for open windows and they were all shut. Again, every time I hear a noise, I always investigate. and love anything creepy, but this sent shivers down my spine. I've got so many more bizarre things that have happened to me, and I've heard some really creepy stories from colleagues too that I could share in the future. I work in a nursing home. Here are a few of the experiences I've had while working in the night shift. One night a few months back, we were doing our rounds on residents around 4 a.m. Our hallway is just one long hallway, nurses stationed in the middle. At the end of the hallway is rehab and private rooms, and the other end is LTC. We had one resident on the rehab side that would occasionally get up and wander. He hadn't tonight. So as we are moving down the hallway to the rehab side for rounds, I see what appears as a dark, tall shadow walking into his room. I thought maybe it was him moving around since he did wander, and I was catching his backside going in. It wasn't him since I checked and he was sleeping. Later that day, he died. His lungs filled with fluid and his heart gave out. No one was expecting that, so I don't know if it was me witnessing death or something else entirely. It has made me so uncomfortable to walk past that room and thinking I might see it again. This experience happened a few years back, and it was one of my more memorable experiences. We had a resident who used to be a big-time coffee drinker, and she would always have a cup before bed. When she became sick and could no longer have coffee, we would stop turning on the machine and running it. So when that day came and she passed, it was on a 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift, and 20 minutes prior to us checking on her and seeing that she had passed away, there was a strong smell of coffee coming through the nurses' station where we sat. We checked, thinking someone turned on the pot in the snack room, but it was off. So we just chalked it up to her just having her last cup to go. Last experience. We had residents say that they were hearing little kids' laughter at night and felt their beds dip with pressure of someone sitting on them. The nursing home in its past was a farmhouse, so not sure if there was young death in the past, but it scared residents because they said they used to see a girl in a red hooded cape playing in their room. A lot also said they noticed her presence when they were sick or another resident passed, but it frightened them. One night on the 3 p.m. to 11 p.m, around 10 p.m. my resident rang for help since she said she saw her go into her bathroom and wanted me to check. I checked it and no one was there, but she could have sworn she heard a child. So she had me check under her bed, closet, and outside her window. Which, mind you, that spooked me since I could have seen it but nothing was there. A month later, she had passed away and the room was empty and cleaned. The emergency cord in the bathroom went off. Now it was a pull string one, not like a slip of wind could have triggered it. Someone had to pull it and there wasn't anyone obviously in there, and no aide or staff by the room. Still sticks in my mind to this day since I think it was the children's spirits messing around, but going in to cancel it. I didn't go alone into the room because we all felt creeped out with how it could have been pulled. Before I start, let me say that I'm not unfamiliar with the paranormal. I've experienced whispers, shadow figures, sudden senses being triggered, etc. The only thing I haven't experienced is actually physically seeing a spirit. This leads me to my story. I work in a movie theatre, so late nights are a normal thing. My co-workers are all pretty colourful people that tend to joke a lot, but almost all of us have one thing in common. We feel something off in one of the theatres. I first noticed it in the first month I worked there. And at first, it only felt like a mild discomfort. But as time went on, especially in February, the feeling only intensified. For clarification, it feels like something is constantly watching us with this intense malice. Like we shouldn't be there and it wants us to know it. I dealt with this intense feeling by walking in and telling it that I was just getting in to do my job, and I'd be out of its hair in a few minutes. For a short time, that actually stopped it, until February. February 2020. I was working late, making sure the bar glasses were collected, and it came to the time of the night where I had to go into this particular theatre. I walked in, and immediately the feeling started up, with far more malice than I was expecting. I gave it my usual spiel about getting out of there quick, but the feeling just intensified. I don't know what I was looking for, so I decided to hightail it out of there, which usually helps. But this time, it decided to follow me. For context, I was moving at a near sprint, and this feeling went from somewhere in the middle of the screen to directly behind me. It stayed at my back the whole time. I ran out of that theatre and into the next before just disappearing. Now the little silhouettes I see in the dark in my apartment have begun to increase in sightings, and I'm not sure what it is. Hopefully, someone has an answer for this, because I haven't been back to work in a while, so I'm hoping to have some kind of answer on this thing. I was a jail nurse for about 3 years in a correctional facility that housed approximately 1,300 inmates. I loved the job, would have stayed longer, but administration sucked. But that's another story. Anyway, I worked night shift and have had some creepy shit happen that just could not be rationally explained. I worked both booking and infirmary, but the majority of the incidents occurred in infirmary. Okay, so I was there maybe a month. Not a new nurse, but new to corrections. Anyone who has spent any time in jail will tell you that when those heavy doors slam shut, it is a very distinctive, definitive loud sound. So, to get into the infirmary, you have to have a key or be buzzed in by central control. So I'm sitting at my desk and I hear the metal door outside my office click, like someone from central has unlocked it. And it opens about halfway and then just slammed shut. Now in my office, there is a huge glass window so that nursing staff can see any inmates that are about to enter. So when the door slammed, I thought it was just the officers fucking around, and I jumped up and went to the window, and no one was there. I called Central, and the officer that answered sounded like I just woke him from a sound sleep. And I said, haha, very funny. He had no idea what I was talking about. And I knew this officer, and I was surprised that he would go along with any type of prank because, frankly, he was kind of a jerk-off with absolutely no sense of humor. So I just thought it was some mechanical glitch. I sat down and everything just, changed. It felt colder and I felt like I was being watched. I was just all around uncomfortable. I took my stethoscope from around my neck and put it on the desk and left my office to go into the medical department. I stayed in medical for a few, talking to the staff in there, and then I went back to my office. When I walked in, I went to grab my stethoscope off the desk to check an inmate, and it wasn't there. I looked on the desk, on the side, underneath. It just wasn't there. I should mention that when I left my office, I did lock the door as per protocol, and I'm the only one on shift with a key. Now I'm thinking I'm going crazy, so I start looking everywhere and I cannot find it. Now in my office there is a large closet that holds all supplies. This is also locked, with the key being on the set of keys that I carry. Anyway, later in the shift, I needed to go into the closet and get something. I really don't remember what. And sitting in the middle of the floor is my stethoscope. I picked it up and the heavy metal door outside my office clicks again, opens halfway and slams shut. I locked the closet, locked my office, and went out for a smoke. I was scared shitless, but I had responsibilities and patients to look after. So I go back in, and I swear, the whole atmosphere felt lighter. It was warmer and just felt more comfortable. After my shift, the central officers rewound the tapes for me, and I saw the doors just open and slam shut, with not a single person near them or in the hallway. I wish I could say that was the last time that happened, or that I got comfortable with it. I did not, because each time it happened, it seemed that the doors slammed harder and that uncomfortable feeling lasted longer and longer. And it felt almost like being stalked. Things that went missing were found in different parts of the jail. My pen case? In the women's wing. My med sheets? In solitary central control room. My portable blood pressure cuff? In the kitchen. And each and every time something of mine would show up in some other part of the jail, the officers and I would look at the tapes and see no one. Remember I said I felt like I was being stalked? Well, that's because all of these things happened to me, but no other nurse who worked the nights. Not one other nurse who worked on my days off had any doors click or open or slam shut. Their stuff didn't disappear and then reappear somewhere else. It was just me. Every officer and every one of the medical staff who worked there, well before I got there, swore up and down that this type of incident never, ever occurred before. It got to the point for me that I started just not staying in my office. I just got all my stuff that I needed for my shift and sat at the officer's desk. I did that until I left there and got another job. I haven't had anything like that happen again. Hello watchers and listeners. If you enjoyed that video, please hit the like button, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing. A huge thank you to all the Reddit users who allowed me to use their stories. Links to each story will be in the description below. If you have any stories you would like to share on my channel, please send them to my email, which is also in the description below. As always, a huge thank you to everyone who continues to support me. I really do appreciate it. Stay safe.